Hi, welcome to Far From Eden and happy Sunday. Usually I'm feeling pretty relaxed. It's very chill. The videos I make on Sunday, we always have a fairy tale. This video is not going to be that. Also, I plan the videos. I see man reacts videos or man guide videos or different videos that I'm like, oh, this is a good one. This is a great example. And then I'll react to it, not having seen the whole thing. Well, full disclosure, I watched a clip from the Whatever podcast this morning, and I could not turn away. I eventually did, because the clip is sort of long. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but the beginning is just a perfect example of what I was talking about yesterday, and what I've said so many times is that these women will give themselves away. And I guess they don't even realize it. They confess who they are and right there in the open. And that's what makes, for me, shows like the Whatever podcast so fascinating. And all these TikToks that these women are making, almost like they're in a hostage situation, like with the camera, like crying. But anyways, my favorite guest on the Whatever podcast, the recurring guest, is Andrew Wilson, because he comes from an Eastern Orthodox foundation. And because he has that strong foundation, and there are others on there who are Catholic, etc., who come from a strong foundation. I'm not saying that Eastern Orthodox is the only, foundation you can come from where you understand truth, although I don't think it hurts. And he's unwavering and he's always clear. And the other thing that I've been really enjoying lately when I see him on there is he's kind of dadding them, right? I have noticed it's like he talks to them. I sometimes wonder, is this how he talks to his children to get them, in order? Anyway, it's fascinating. I have much respect for him and his wife, Rachel. I think they're great. I think what they stand for is great. Anyway, this isn't about that. But anyway, without further ado, let's take a look at what these girls have to say. And one of them is 19. And as one of the commenters said on the podcast, they said it's OF girls eating their own. And it sort of was, but that wasn't all bad. I just wanted it to go a slightly different direction, but it also gave me hope. So I don't want to give it all away. Goodness gracious. Okay, let's share the screen. Wouldn't really help if I was the only one watching it. And we have the magical spinny wheel. It's fine. I just haven't pressed play yet. For some reason, it's doing this. All right, let's get into it. So funny.
Cool. Meaning he's bringing the same thing. What of value are you going to be bringing to this relationship?
I feel like that's subjective only because
totally subjective, sure.
Well, the man would decide that. So it's like, if he doesn't think I'm good enough to date him.
No. In this case, I'm asking you what you think. I assume that he's going to, that this potential guy is going to come up with all sorts of different metrics for whatever those are. But you specifically, from your perception, what would you be bringing?
Ulysses the Pagan donated $200. Part of the feminist indoctrination, they put chips in Gen Z and Alpha's head, overriding their cerebral cortex, making them say woman as the plural for motives only known by Nancy Pelosi and Mahsa Amini.
No, that's definitely about me. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's funny. There was that other girl who kept saying woman, and she meant women. It's weird. I don't know. Maybe it's the gender studies. They're pronouncing it weird. No idea. But that was sort of like an inside joke. But I was going to say, the question he's posing to this chick here, who is 19, is, what do you bring to the table? And she's like, well, that would depend on him. It's his choice to decide what it is I bring to the table. But it's also like, lady, that would be why he's choosing you. He doesn't choose you and then go, let me see what it is you're bringing to the table. No, he's going to choose you it's going to choose you for relationship based on what you bring to the table. But these women don't get it. And I'm going to quote Home Math. Well, not directly, but what we've all learned from watching Home Math is that you don't just get to decide if you go from the sleeper category to the keeper category. That doesn't happen. And you don't get to pick it. And she's confusing that with being able to articulate what it is that she has. What does she bring to the table? And I still haven't figured out, which is another reason I wanted to watch it with you guys. Full disclosure, I want your all's opinion. Does she not think she has any value? That might be what's underlying. And I don't want to bring up self-esteem and that whole thing, because I think self-esteem is partly how we got here, because it was all about the superficial and just deciding you have value rather than thinking what are the things that are valuable and let me embody them. So I think we see a massive breakdown. We see the results of the massive breakdown in child rearing, right? This is what happens when schools and daycares raise your children, or people who have absolutely no sense of what is actually valuable, what is actually good, and giving their children a roadmap. This chick is out here with no roadmap, and she has no idea she's lost. And she cannot answer this question, what do you bring to the table? Let's watch her struggle.
What does that mean?
Thank you, Pagan.
He's saying that when Gen Z women are born, the doctor puts a microchip in their brain, which causes a short circuit along their cerebral cortex. So when they say woman as a plural form of women, that's why.
It's a troll comment.
Okay.
Wait, you don't believe that?
No.
That's because he's trolling.
No, I know.
You didn't know. You can't play it off now. You messed it all up. You can't play it off.
Mr. Girl.
You were so close. So close. So close. Anyway, so back to this question. Yeah, what would you be bringing to the table, do you think, that is non-reciprocal?
So, like, if a man sees me on the street or something, like, what would be the traits that he would see that would draw him in?
No. What would you be bringing to the table that he wouldn't be bringing to the table?
In the context of what? Like, I'm confused.
Of a relationship.
Like, as far as like the maturity?
Anything.
I mean, I don't know. It's just like I'm trying to be like open without thinking about like too like narrow-minded, like, you know what I mean?
Can you restate back to us the multiple traits that you listed out that you want in a man?
I was saying I like a dominant man.
Yep.
Is established, mature.
Oh, he's doing it too. Whoops.
And I guess not an asshole. I don't know.
But so it's very easy for you to answer what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
But why is it a little harder for, like, here's all the traits that I want in a guy.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't you just as easily say, here's what I'm bringing?
Mm-hmm.
So what are those things?
I mean, for me personally, like, it's definitely hard to like narrow things down because like
you don't seem to have any trouble narrowing them down for what you want.
Right, because that's in my perspective of what I want. But it's,
oh my gosh, she literally just admitted, yes, I can articulate what I want. Of course I can. But she cannot articulate what she would give. What is she offering? Her brain can't even comprehend the question. It blew my mind this morning. Yes, I'm insane. Before I got out of bed, I watched this clip. And I was analyzing it and thinking, oh my God, I have to watch this with the guys because She cannot even comprehend the question. It's not like she's one of those girls that's like, I'm the whole package. She's just literally like, I don't have the depth of character to even comprehend that question. And I think it's interesting to also look at the expressions of the other chicks, because you see a combination. You see what happens regularly where they're just bored because nobody's talking to them and it's not about them. And then you see others who are just like also not comprehending. Because if they did, you guys, you've seen this podcast before. If they did, they'd be jumping in, right? If they had good answers, they'd be jumping in, and they're not.
It's like, it's hard for us as people to reflect that inward and know what traits, you know what I mean?
Really? Wait a second.
In my opinion, because I can easily...
Wait, don't you know yourself the best? You've been living with yourself for 19 years. You know everything there is to know about you. So how would you not be able, if you're looking externally about men who I might not even know, I want X, Y, Z. But why can't you just list out, well, here's what I'm bringing. Here's me. This is what I bring.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, it's just hard to like.
Okay, that's fair.
You know, I think it's just the phrasing is.
Let me ask the second part of the question. What baggage would you bring?
Baggage? I mean, relationship wise, or just in general? Relationship? Baggage wise, I mean, I guess if they were to look at my sexual things, you know, like I guess body count or my profession, the fact that I don't have a lot of relationship experience.
Okay. That is a weird thing that they didn't jump on. I don't have a lot of relationship experience. Man. Guys don't want chicks with relationship experience. They also don't want the higher body count, which she at least will say. But she thinks that not having been in relationships, guys will be like, oh, yeah, no, if you haven't really been in committed relationships before, then I don't want you. Maybe it's because of the types of relationships she's chosen instead of that. I get that. But as far as experience, guys value purity. And so better to have none of that. But she has no idea. And we're going to find out in a little bit why she has no idea. Because she tries to say she's from this like Christian family background, But then, because I was like, well, how? And then we realized, okay, now I see how we got here.
I think age could also play a factor because that comes with the lack of experience.
So we have at least four pieces of.
So is she saying that part of her baggage is that she's too young? Yeah. Guys are just going to reject you because you're too young. I mean, no 25, 30-year-old, 35-year-old, 40-year-old wants a 19-year-old girl. What? Why would they ever want that? Well, probably because usually they're going to be more pure. Usually they're not going to have the baggage. So your youth, ma'am, is one of the things that's on your side. But all the things you're doing with it is against you.
Of baggage.
Right.
Can we get one positive that you're going to be bringing to this relationship that's non-reciprocal?
From what men have told me, like in my personal life, they like me because I'm honest with them. I'm funny, like in my personal life.
Those are reciprocal traits, though. You would expect honesty as you're getting honesty, right?
Right.
So that's a reciprocal trait.
And right here, Andrew is dadding her. I mean, I think he has realized, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think he's realized that she lacks any sense of what is valuable to begin with. And I love that he's going at it. For people who want to say, you know, that he's this or he's that, he's mean, this or the other, he's coming at her right now with a ton of compassion, a ton of compassion. He's trying to teach her right here. And I love how quiet they all get. Because women, oh, they're not going to want me to say this. Women will quiet down when there is a man who is an authority, who is acting sort of fatherly. I've seen it a bunch of times on this podcast. They did it with Michael Knowles a ton. They all got quiet and they all listened. And this is happening here with her. And it's so sad in a way that nobody did this. Clearly no one did this when she was 10, 11, 12. Because if you think you can fix this 304 behavior when they're 16, no, they're already of that mindset. But right here, he's really, really treating her like a dad. And I love that. Let's see how she responds.
It's a non-reciprocal trait that you think you would bring.
Something that would benefit him, no? By being with you?
I mean, yeah, I mean, that's why I was saying it's up to the individual. Like, I'm not going to be like, I don't know, like, I'm just not like, I don't have like a giant ego. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to be like, oh, he's going to get to date the baddest bitch around and blah, blah, blah. Like, to me, that's subjective to whatever man I'm dating or whatever man finds interest. It's up to him to find those traits in me that he is attracted to. And that's different for everybody.
Wait, so...
How
so
about,
nothing?
Like, I feel like I have like just a different question that kind of would give the same answer. Like, what do you think a traditional man who's dominant, who's a provider, and all those things you listed would want in a woman?
Did she say? I don't know.
There you go. I think a lot of the women here, well, not a lot, a couple of them see where the communication breakdown is. I can see that I don't think she knows what reciprocal means. And she doesn't want to say, what do you mean reciprocal? I think that's part of it. And I think, honestly, I think that's Maddie, whatever, with the helmet that's always there. I think she's trying to help her understand the question. Because a lot of times women don't have a problem answering this. They just answer it wrong with a bunch of stuff that the guy doesn't want, like my degree and this and that and the other. Let's see if Maddie's rewording helps.
I don't know if she said provider, although that would be an entailment of being traditional. Do you want a provider? Okay. So that, I'm assuming you want a guy to pay for the first date, right?
To lead.
You want a guy to pay, would you want a guy to pay for like subsequent dates too? Like provider.
Yeah, like, I mean, I think that comes with the dominant role.
Okay. So you would be submissive then?
Mm-hmm.
I assume that's what you would bring.
Right.
So I have a question. If you were dating a guy and he told you, I want you to stop doing porn, would you be submissive and listen to him?
If I loved someone, absolutely.
What if you didn't love him?
Then I would not stop. I wouldn't
You're
be
in a relationship with him.
I wouldn't be in a relationship.
Well, what if you don't love him yet?
That's possible.
That's pointless to me because I'm like, if we're not, I don't know, if I don't love you yet, I'm not going to quit my job for you.
Yeah, but somebody can grow to love somebody. That's very possible.
Right. But I'm not going to cut off my
yet.
financials because you told me.
He's providing.
Right. But it's.
Okay. Cut off my financials.
Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like I would want to be in love with someone for them to like cut off like.
Or at least attraction, maybe not love, but like attraction to them. Would you like give it up for them? Like
she ain't giving up.
Like, let's say
giving
like
up
2 months
if she's
into
attracted to
relationship.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm just attracted, like, I don't really care.
But
like,
it's like, how long does it take for you to fall in love with someone?
I don't know. I haven't been in love.
Okay.
Okay. When you're 19, well, I don't know usually anymore. Back in my day. I remember like writing, remember book covers? You know, those, we would take brown shopping bags and we'd have to make book covers for all of our books because this was back in the day when there wasn't digital stuff. Anyway, remember girls would write, you know, I love so-and-so. And we would even write our first names with our little boyfriend's last names. I heart so-and-so. At least when you're young like that, we used to think, yes, I've been in love. Now, was that real love? I don't know. But to be 19 and be like, I've never been in love. It's probably true. But the thing is that to have a heart and to think that at 19 is bad. I think it's much better as a girl, as a woman, especially to be like, yes, I've been in love. Oh, I had my heart broken. And then you might find out what real love actually is. And it's not the puppy love. But to be like, I've never been in love. She's so already jaded. She doesn't smile. Look at her face. It's just, that's what all this promiscuity does to these chicks. But how do they get there in the first place? Because you have to already not think you have anything else. And she clearly thinks this is the only way to make a living, cut off her financials. It's an ignorant way to speak. So, you know, look, I'm just going to say it in the best way, in the most YouTube-friendly way. So, I'm half English, right? My father's whole side is from England. I am a Gen Xer. So when I was little, Margaret Thatcher was Prime Minister of England. Anyway, my mom told me about how she had elocution lessons so that she could speak properly. Because in England, especially back then and years prior, if you had a certain type of accent, you were pigeonholed. You were like, oh, you're lower class. Oh, you're ignorant. Oh, this, that, or the other. And that was a reason why, you know, my mom was very strict about our grammar and the way we spoke and the way we pronounced things. That doesn't seem to be a thing anymore. However, you can still figure out, you know, where someone comes from and how their worldview was framed by phrasing that they use, by pronunciation that they use. And it's not a good thing. It's not flattering. A traditional provider, educated man, not necessarily college, just educated, you know, well-read, is not going to choose a wife who uses phrases like, cut off my financials. Just a side point. And I feel bad for her. I pity her at this point in the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah. A week for me.
So the last question I got for you. Mm-hmm. Why would a traditional man who had those traditional traits and values want somebody who
See, now I'm understanding, like, anyway. I'm not saying they would. I'm just saying what I like. Yeah, so it's like, for me, I'm not stupid. Like, I understand what I do as a job. I understand the way the world would view that in a negative light or whatever. And that, at the end of the day, that was my decision. So maybe it's harder for me to find a man that I want.
But let's circle. You know what I mean? We're going to circle all the way back now to the original question I asked you. Do you think that there's going to be any long-term ramifications from you doing corn? The response to this was everything except this answer, which is that it could definitely have significant problems when it came to the relationship that you would want with a man who had the traits, characteristics, and values that you're after. How come you left that out?
I wasn't thinking about that because most of the time when people bring it up, they always
thinking about it.
Well, they always bring up, oh, what about your family? What about your children? They're not thinking about like, oh, what about your future relationships?
I assume you're going to have children with somebody you're in love with.
Yeah, of course.
Then you want that person to have those.
Yeah, of course. As if it just happens. Lady, it's not like, yeah, of course, one day it'll just happen. One day he'll just come along and I'll be in love with him and he'll love me too, no matter what. And we'll have children right off into the sunset. My past won't matter. Everything I do will be perfect. And he'll, like, what reality are we in right now? She has no idea that actions create consequences. She's like, yeah, that's the man I want. And probably the man I want, the type of man I want, isn't gonna want this type of stuff. But oh well. Like, did it ever occur to you, lady, to change what you're doing to try and get a better result for yourself? Why? What is this? Why is she so rigid? And I know we're picking on this one particular person right now, but there's so many that think like this. She's so rigid in that I won't change what I'm doing, even though I know it's not going to get me, or probably won't get me, the result that I want. I'm just going to be mad about that. I'm just going to be mad at those guys instead of changing what I am doing. Instead of realizing that what I am doing is a reflection of who I am. It's not separate. You don't need to do this stuff. You don't need to sell yourself, chick. You don't. In a second, one of the other ladies on this panel is going to challenge her. And that's a huge reason I wanted you guys to see this particular clip. Because I know that whatever podcasts are like 6 hours long, 8 hours long. And it's hard, like, most of us don't sit there and watch the whole thing. And I'm grateful they do the clips, because then it's sort of in pieces. Unless I want to see them challenge each other. We need the women. We need women to challenge each other. We need, as I've said in the last few videos, we need the better ones to challenge the other ones. And it isn't just, it's not for the guys necessarily. I want it to benefit the men. But at the end of the day, this is not working for women. This is not better for them. And I don't mean easier. I don't mean more money. I mean better for your soul, better for your contentment. They're always complaining about, I'm not happy. You know, the use of antidepressant SSRIs are way up. You know, the wine moms and the alcohol, it's so bad. The depression and anxiety is so bad. And I believe that this kind of like, I don't know what's right. I don't know what's good. I don't know where I belong. I have a big feeling that this is why. So I think that a lot of women will say, oh, she's a woman hater. Oh, she has internal misogyny. No. If you're standing in the road and there are cars coming at you, I'm going to yell at you. I'm going to say, knock it off. It's not because I judge them or I hate them or anything. It's because you're playing in the street and you're going to get run over and you're not happy out there.
There's values, right?
Of course.
That comes before the kid, right?
Of course.
So if that comes before the kid, there's a step-by-step process here.
Right.
The type of man that you're after for the values, aren't you hamstringing yourself?
I mean, no, because I mean, at the end of the day, if a dude doesn't want me back, I'm not going to chase it. Like, I'm not going to look stupid.
Yeah,
like
but why
that.
would a man who had values, structured values, and was traditional, which is what you want, why would he want to be with a porn star?
Right. I'm not saying a traditional man has to be.
So how's that not hamstringing yourself?
Well, because it's like I grew up in a household that was a Christian household.
Sure.
And so maybe it's just the way I grew up that it's kind of ingrained in me to like certain traits in a relationship. I'm not saying that's an indefinite.
It's ingrained in her because that's God's proper order. So, ma'am, that's your instinct. It's the same as men wanting purity, wanting youth. That's their instinct. They would like a partner to have a family with. So that's their instinct. They women have a reverse instinct. And she feels it, she senses it, she resists it. Because her instinct, her DNA is telling her, hey, you should find a man with values who's conservative. I don't like using the word traditional because it lends itself to the idea of the woman just sits at home and has a soft life. And that's not what I am purporting. Yeah, she's hamstringing herself, as Andrew is saying, although I'm not sure that she knows what he means by that. I think it would help. Sometimes I don't want him to dumb it down, but sometimes you have to a little bit, because just so that everybody understands. I don't want to insult the ladies on the panel, but they have not, a lot of them have not worked on their minds and things like that. They've worked on, contouring and positions and lighting and cameras, and that's a distraction from working on your character and your mind and this sort of thing. So those things may be a smidge underdeveloped. So you might have to reword things and not use words like reciprocal or hamstringing yourself. Don't know.
To what I'd be looking for, like, let's say I find someone and they're not even like that at all, but I love them and it works for us, that's fine too.
Really? You think that you're going to be able to change things, like you want them to be dominant, a provider, have traditional values? You really think you're going to change what you're attracted to? Really?
I mean, if you love somebody, yeah.
Andrew, can I ask you a question on this? Mm-hmm. Can a guy be dominant and a provider, but not be traditional?
Yes.
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 So that's what I mean. That's where I kind of think about this. Part of me,
but there's an undercurrent here to look at. Yes. So in other words, I'm going to concede that this is logically possible.
Right.
I don't ever see it though. Meaning.
I mean, I think somebody like Andrew Tate is dominant, and he probably provides for a lot of the chicks that are with him. So, and he's certainly not traditional when it comes to relationships. So that's someone I can think of. I don't think, obviously there are issues with that. And I've seen some other guys who are sort of like self-proclaimed alpha guys who are like, I love my woman, but I can sleep with whoever I want. Like, you're not traditional. So yeah.
That the types of men, I think, who desire to be in those roles generally seem to have a value structure which underpins why they want to be in those roles. Otherwise, what the hell would be the point? You just go out and be a promiscuous man whore and hump every chick you saw and lie to them, be a scumbag. There wouldn't really be any negative ramifications to that. So why not do that?
On the provider front, I do wonder though, like if there's like liberal cuck soy boy who's like just, he's making, nothing precludes a.
I remember one in particular who used to have blue hair. That's who came to my mind when Brian was describing, liberal soy boy guy who's a provider, not traditional. How'd that work out again? Blue-haired guy? Well, he's not blue-haired anymore, but also not married anymore. Never really married.
Liberal cuck soy boy from making a ton of money.
No.
So they can fall into the provider role. It's not clear if they're the dominant component is a little more questionable.
But generally, but let me ask the counter to this.
Yeah.
So the liberal cuck soy boy.
Yeah.
Why does he want to fall in the provider role?
That's a good question.
Maybe.
Well, it would occur to me
maybe it's like instinct, because like, weren't you talking about like male instincts or something earlier? Like, what if it's just like ingrained from where they grew up?
I would think it would be instinct to not be a liberal cuck soy boy too, though, right? That seems instinctual, but maybe it's not just purely instinct. So if we're backing up, though, what would be the incentive for somebody who lives in modernity, man who lives in modernity, makes tons of cash, right? And he doesn't see really any value in being a provider when he can just basically go out and hump whatever woman he wants. What would be the principle underpinning behind that? So you said you're raised in a Christian household, so you probably assume in your head, the way that you think about it is it's supposed to be man, woman, children, devoted wife, right? Head of household, husband. These are the examples that you see.
Right.
Do you know why that becomes ingrained though? It's because those are examples that work. And so you look your whole life and you look around you and you see all kinds of examples that don't work. Traditionalism is really just the study of experiments that worked. That's an experiment that always works. It seems to work the best out of every other experiment.
It didn't work for my parents.
Wait a second. I thought you came from, oh, look, she's smiling. She's actually smiling. I thought you came from a Christian family, and maybe that's why you got the. And now all of a sudden, it didn't work for my parents. Now we're getting to what we might be upset about, angry about, rebelling against. Didn't work for my parents.
It doesn't always work.
Yeah.
Right? Of course not. But
wait, I'm sorry. One more thing. This is what I thought when I saw it the first time. It didn't work for my parents. Why? Because they chose to break up. Now, maybe there was some biblical reason, maybe there was actual abuse. Maybe there was, I don't think so. Because usually it's not. Usually it's irreconcilable differences and I'm not happy. Guess what? They chose for it not to work. Somebody left. Somebody broke it up. Somebody said, I don't care what's best for the kids. I don't care what's best for the family as a whole. I don't care what's best for society. I'm not happy. So I'm out. It does work. The thing is that it's not magical and it doesn't just stay. You have to make decisions every single day. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm never leaving. I'm never leaving. Unconditional, ride or die. Ride or die works. When you say it doesn't work, this is where I'm disagreeing with Andrew. Well, no, yes, it does. You just have to work. It's like saying this bicycle doesn't work. Well, are you pedaling? Well, no. I got tired of pedaling. Well, then the bicycle's not going to work. The bicycle works because you're pedaling. And if you stop or, do something like take a stick and, put it in the spoke of the wheels, it's also not going to work. But you can't say the bicycle didn't work. Something's wrong with the bicycle. You have to operate it properly. And that's how a traditional conservative marriage works. Don't stick a stick in the wheel. Don't quit pedaling. I understand, like, this is not what how our society thinks of it. Our society is, oh, it's difficult, I should stop. Oh, my feelings are hurt, I'm going to call that abuse. Haven't these people ever had a friendship? You're going to hurt people. Family. You're going to say something that hurts somebody's feelings. Maybe not intentional. Maybe it was intentional. Maybe you were angry. Maybe you have a strong belief and somebody else in your family has a different belief. We used to say, all right, okay, I get it, but you're still my family, so I love you. We used to understand that. In the last several years, particularly, it's been like, oh, nope, deal breaker. You're out of my life. You're out of my life. You're out of my life. We just write people off. And because we have no grace for them, right? And this is particularly, it seems to be rampant amongst women and people who are, say, a little bit, I don't know, without that foundation of, you know, the people who say love is love? No. Love is love when you love them even if they hurt your feelings, they had a bad day, because you do it too. Because none of us are perfect. You have to have something stronger than your wobbly, you know, feelings.
But even if your parents split, that doesn't mean they won't enter into another traditional relationship with other people, right? Mm-hmm. So again, this is the experiment again, seeming to work as it's supposed to. Even if with these two people it did not work, doesn't mean they're not going to look for a reformation for exactly that same kind.
I think that was a good argument for him to give to these women. Because my argument, they're just going to walk away because I'm just a Puritan, you know, Amish, whatever it is that they're going to think. But the way he's saying it, he's like, yeah, however, that traditional nuclear family, not just exposing yourself online, is what works the best.
A relationship again. That's the examples that we see that work the most. And so that's why we kind of are always looking at them and going, okay, why does this work? Mm-hmm. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know, like that. I don't think that's relevant to like the original point, though.
I think it is, because what you're after is, you seem to be after all the values mm-hmm. of somebody who has an underpinning ethical system. Mm-hmm. The ethical system being, what are the things you value? Honesty, right? Integrity, honor. Part of that, the nature of I provide for woman, mm-hmm. I take care of wife doesn't have to work, right? I'll kill myself at the factory every day to make sure the family's taken care of. There has to be some kind of underpinning there for ethics, right? Otherwise, why the hell would you do it?
Right.
Yeah.
So you're saying
that absent the ethical part, I don't think you can arrive at the traditional part. I don't think mm-hmm. it's easy to arrive there.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess.
Can I add something?
Now, when she says, right, like she did, she doesn't understand. I don't know how I know that. I don't know if it's just women speak. She doesn't understand, and what she does kind of understand him saying, she doesn't agree with. She, at this point, just wants him to move on. She just wants him to be quiet. But when she has said that, she doesn't really understand what he's getting at. She doesn't understand that to have the behavior that she sees as preferable, there has to be a value system holding it up. You're not going to have this without this. And when you have this, they're not going to go for that. And it's just not, it's not clicking for her, which is disturbing. It's not clicking because she's dumb. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that that value system and valuing the value system is so absent that this just isn't making sense to her. And it's so sad.
Something.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be a single mom. I have a child and I would not be able to do it alone. I just got a C-section and I was in.
Why is she talking about this all of a sudden? It's just kind of like, all right. But I think that our little friend here who was just in the spotlight might be a little relieved. But also, wait a second, my spotlight was taken. It's a little like, I want to be in the spotlight just about something different. But that's okay. This single mom is going to tell us about how you don't want to be a single mom.
In the ICU for septic shock. And, you know, my boyfriend had to step up and take care of my kid. I was literally dying on my deathbed and I had to get blood transfusions, everything. I don't know how some women do it alone. That is like, it's sad that, you know, some women go through it, but that's definitely, you want a partner that's going to stick by you. Now, I couldn't even put on my own underwear.
But weren't you with this guy for 3 months before?
Well, no, I knew him for a long time before then. I know,
but romantically, right?
Romantically, yeah, we'd hang out in like groups.
So wasn't that just a gamble?
Well, I guess I took his word for it when he told me that he was serious and he did want a family and a serious relationship. And it just so happened that we got along and we have very similar interests. So, I mean, it worked.
But I mean, if you were to take yourself out of your shoes, this worked, right, for you?
This did work, yeah.
You would never recommend it for somebody else, though, right?
Honestly, I got really lucky. I won it because maybe they would end up a single mom, honestly.
Right. Right. That's what I'm saying is like, I understand the principle of what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's really difficult. It seems like it seems stupid that a woman would actually choose to be a single mom, though they do.
Yes.
Because you're right. It takes, there's a lot more work involved than, well, it doesn't take a village, but it does take a dad.
I love that. It doesn't take a village, but it does take a dad. Heck yeah.
And also, like, you don't want your child growing up, hey, mommy and daddy are dating different people. That's not a good example. No. You know, that's just, you know,
a good example of what, though?
Good example of having a traditional household.
Of having ethical underpinnings.
Yeah,
right?
And then my daughter is going to grow up, well, my mommy and daddy weren't together, so I'm going to go be a single mom.
Right.
Hypothetically, you know, not my situation.
I mean, that depends how you like view the world, though.
Yeah. I mean, like, it works for some people.
Like, for me personally, because I did grow up in a certain way, I'm striving to not have that happen.
Yeah.
Not to be like, you know,
nobody, you know.
Wait, hold on.
Okay, she was in a Christian. She grew up as in a Christian family. Then she said, didn't work for my parents. And now she's striving for that not to happen. Lady, you're not striving for anything. You're just doing corn on the internet and going, oh, well, you know, I want good things to happen, so good things will happen. No, you're not striving for that. You have to make decisions. If I was there, where I was, I would say, how are you striving? What particular decisions do you make as you strive towards that? And what advice would you give for someone else who also wanted that? I would love to ask that question.
Because
just
you
as
grew
far
up
as
in
like
a certain
divorce.
way. Wait. You don't want, so you do want to get married one day.
Yeah.
Do you want to have kids?
Absolutely.
But,
yeah, of course. Absolutely. Lady, you might want to look up the statistics of how many partners you've had prior to marriage and how successful your marriage is likely to be. You are all of them, all of us. If you are not married, you are cheating on your future partner. And you are degrading that future relationship. And I wish it was explained to us this way. Because I think, I don't know, I wish it was explained to us this way.
Don't you think simply by virtue of the work that you've done, that's going to make it much more difficult to have a stable relationship? No impact whatsoever on the...
It'll definitely have an impact, but for me, like, again, as I was saying, like,
well,
it doesn't need to be like the concrete, like,
but if it'll definitely have an impact, wouldn't that have an impact on the likelihood of the success of the relationship?
No, because I'm not going to get married to someone that I have like things like about my past, you know, like if you're mad that I did this job, you're not the one for me, you know?
But what if it introduces issues down the line in your relationship that materialize years later? Or for example, this is perhaps one you won't be able to avoid if you said you want to have kids. Okay, what sort of complications will be introduced into not only your relationship with your partner, but your relationship with your children, which will invariably introduce issues with your partner if the child is bullied, for example, because of the work you've done?
I mean, I'm planning to have kids in like 15 years. Like, I don't...
She's planning to have kids when she's 34. Another woman who doesn't understand her own biology. We are made with a certain number of eggs. They are finite, and they are the best ones are when we're young. And now you're going to wait till you're 34. That's how little you love those children. You're like, you know what? I'll use my old eggs for you. That's what you're saying. And that's how little you love your future husband. I'll have children with you, but I'll use my old eggs. No. And second of all, good luck getting pregnant at 34. They all think it's going to be super easy. It's not. It's not. That's why we're going to have, and we do have, millions of childless women. And most of them didn't choose to be childless on purpose. They always put it off, said, of course, it'll happen, and then it doesn't. It doesn't. And then you're older and you're like, oh, well, I don't have a family because I didn't make one.
Internet's forever.
How would they?
You never know.
You don't think
You
Internet's
never know when
forever.
you're going to have
see
kids.
videos of you in 15 years from now? And
You never know when you're going to have kids. Well, maybe if you stop being promiscuous, you know, if you're celibate, you kind of know that you're not going to have kids. You know, I don't want to give TMI, but like, I've not been concerned in the last 20 years if I was going to have kids. 25 years that I was going to have kids. If y'all don't know, like, I don't know when it could possibly happen. Well, that's because of your behavior, ding dongs. God, I get mad at these chicks.
not only that, but
They'll be
Have a
holographic
kid
then.
next week.
not only that, but
Well,
in
get
15 years
pregnant.
from now, the father of that child will still be the father, and you could choose that father from today, and they could be the father in 15 years. And I don't think doing the industry that you're in. I'm sorry, was I not clear?
I understood what she said.
Okay,
I
just keep
kind
going.
of
Keep going.
am.
Keep
I
going.
understood.
No, you weren't clear. No, I'm kidding.
I
Go
can
ahead.
rephrase it. And also, so the father that you choose now could be the father of your kids in 15 years. And the father that you choose most likely won't be a better father while you're in the industry. Like, do you really think you're more likely to get a good man in the industry that you're in, or are you more likely to not get a good man while you're in the industry?
And those are the words and the phrasing you need to use for these chicks. Do you think you're going to get a good man while you're doing this, or do you think you're going to get a not so good man while you're doing this? There's no definitions that we need.
I mean, based off of their argument, it would be I'm less likely.
But what do you think?
For me, like, I mean, I don't really care. Like, for me, like, I'm
But
not
you do
even
care.
looking
Hold
for
on,
a man.
hold on. But you do care because you said that due to your past experiences, yourself as a child, you said you don't want that for you and you don't want that for your future children.
Correct.
You said you don't want what happened to your parents to happen to you.
Correct.
But simply by virtue of the work you've done and the work you do, it has increased the likelihood that that will be the outcome.
Absolutely.
It's not a guarantee.
I never denied
not
that,
a guarantee, but it's
Right.
increased the likelihood
Right.
of that outcome.
Yeah. I mean, true.
And when you have a kid, you're going to want to protect them and, you know,
I'll
want the
protect
best
my
for them.
kids, but I mean, it doesn't have to be in the context of what I used to do for work. I mean, I know a lot of girls that I grew up with and their moms were strippers and stuff, you know, and like no one cared.
And that's when I was saying about, I don't remember saying that when I saw this earlier. Wow. That's why we speak like cut off my financials. If you knew a bunch of people growing up and their moms were strippers, Lord have mercy. That's so sad. This is why she doesn't realize how horrible any of this is, any of this promiscuity and that line of work, whatever. It's so bad and so damaging, not just right now, but in the future. Actions, consequences. She doesn't seem to understand that what you're doing right now is going to affect you badly in the future. So why don't you change what you're doing right now? That's what I would ask. Why don't you change what you're doing right now to make what happens later better?
It's just like I feel like shaming someone for their past at the end of the day. Well, I mean,
Wait,
okay.
sorry, go ahead. Finish.
But what I was saying is that shaming people for their past, like, obviously that's an issue, but I feel like
why?
Well, it's an issue because, like, as you were saying, like,
would you date a broke guy?
A broke guy?
Would you date a broke guy?
I have in the past, yeah.
Okay, was that the question?
No.
Would you?
Would I now? Absolutely not.
Well, so hold on. Because of a man's perhaps lack of action, his current state of affairs, he's broke. Perhaps, and this is due in part or in totality to actions or lack of actions he took in the past. So you are essentially shaming him for his past actions.
No.
By not being at a place financially that you deem acceptable in the present.
But that's not the same as shaming them. I'm not shaming you for being broke. Like,
bro, you chicks shamed Bills by Destiny's Child, TLC, No Scrubs.
I have no idea.
I mean,
bro,
am I TLC?
Hey, but does a man want to broke women?
So I mean,
men don't care.
What
about
men? Yeah.
What about shaming women for their future? Like, for instance, I hear you. Okay, that's fair. Shouldn't shame me for what I did a week ago,
right?
10 days ago, 20 days ago. But what if the perception is, okay, but you're going to do this again tomorrow and next Tuesday and next Thursday? Is that okay then to shame? Or is it just what you're really saying is just not okay to shame people?
I didn't say it wasn't okay to shame people, but in the context of what we were saying, which was my job, which I'm not the only person in the world that has a controversial job.
I agree.
Right?
Sure.
It's just like what you guys were saying was coming under the context that it would cause an issue. I don't even know. Like, I could die tomorrow, like, and none of this would even matter.
Yeah, but what do you think?
You know what I meant? You know what I mean? Like,
but if you're when you live your life, you live your life through risk mitigation, whether you think so or not. You don't.
I love this too. Here's where Andrew is going to dad the whole table. And I love it. I am, older now, and I respond to it too. It's the same reason why I like watching, Björn from Norway, right? The reaction I did with that. He's very fatherly, even though we're the same age. And Andrew and I are probably very close in age. I really appreciate the patriarchy. I'm going to say it right now. Like, this is what the patriarchy is. He is going to explain some things, and it's not condescending. It's not rude. It clearly needs to be said, and it's beneficial. And even though I know the things that Andrew is going to explain to these girls, it's funny, the reaction that it gives me. I feel so much comfort when I hear any man speaking like this, having this gentle but authoritarian role, even at the table, explaining things, bringing things back to facts and logic and away from the feelings. It brings me a sense of calm. And again, I will say, those of you who have been described as the strong, silent type, and you wonder why you're such a magnet for the crazies, because this kind of attitude that men have, this explaining, I know they call mansplaining. No, it's very calming, and it calms the chaos. And so the women with a lot of chaos are going to flock to the strong, silent types. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry for your predicament. Just be careful. You can't fix them. You can't.
Blow through red lights, right? How come? How come you don't blow through red lights for fun?
Illegal.
You're most likely going to
Let's say it was legal. Would you blow through red lights for fun?
No.
Why?
Because I would get T-boned.
Oh, so you're mitigating risk.
Right.
Right? Do you want to get into a car that had shaky wheels?
No.
No. Why?
Because it's dangerous.
And so you're what? Mitigating risk.
It's risk.
You're mitigating.
Hey, Look, it's Dragon's Talon. He's in our chat a lot of the times. I didn't notice that he was on this one. Donated $10. Ah, he's a good guy, very generous guy. So hey, Dragon's Talon.
Mitigating risk. So you live your entire life mitigating risk. Doesn't it sound like a little bit of cope to say, well, it just so happens I'm in this industry which has a high risk associated with it. I just don't care about mitigating it.
I mean, couldn't you say the same thing about like police officers or something like that put their life on the line every day? Like that
it's a very safe job. Very few police officers die yearly.
Sorry, can I say
but
something?
It's like that doesn't relate to the point, because
I think it does relate to the point.
How?
Well, because if we're talking about risk mitigation, assume for a second that every single police officer got shot while they were on duty. Do you think that anybody would want to be a police officer?
No,
probably not, right? But if you were to have acceptable risk where you go, okay, almost no police officers actually get shot on duty. Now that seems like it's not that much of a risky job, right? However, when you're talking about doing corn, for instance, what do you think the risk likelihoods increase that they don't end up with happy marriages with traditional men?
I don't know the statistics, so I can't say anything.
If I were to tell you, though, let's just say I were to tell you a ridiculous number, like it's 95%. Would that even change your mind? Would you stop doing it tomorrow? The truth. No. So then it does. So then I don't even know why ask me the question of, but I don't know the statistic, regardless of what the statistic was. If it was 100%, you still wouldn't stop, right?
No.
So then ultimately you're just saying to hell with risk mitigation in this.
Right.
Because I want to fucking do it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's life. You make choices and there's consequences. I'm not denying. I never denied the consequences. I'll say that. I'm not like delusional. Like I understand.
Well, I'm not saying you're delusional.
There is a point, you know.
I'll say it. She's delusional. She talked about wanting a traditional man, a provider. Even to talk about that, that's delusional. Why would you? It's just not going to happen. That's not what they want. They don't want former hookers. They don't. And if you want to change it up and really say, well, I'm going to change this, it's possible that you could completely change and be celibate for like, you're 19, I don't know, 5-10 years. But like, you would have to show the guy that you are a changed woman. You can't just next week, I'm a born again virgin. You can't do that. Can't trust that. No man should trust that. So yeah, she is saying to heck with it. She's saying to heck with it. I don't care about my future children. I don't care about my future husband. Just say you're selfish. If you understand and you're not delusional, then just say, I don't care. I'm selfish. I don't know. I think she's delusional. I don't think she fully understands what she's throwing away. I don't think she understands that she is exchanging all the things she thinks she has right now. And in return for that, she's going to end up sad and alone, and the attention will dry up. It just will. Because you'll be past your date, you know, you'll expire. But a husband that you build a family with would never see you that way. He would always value you. Your people who watch you online are not. She's delusional.
And there is like a place where, you know, it might be an issue in my life.
Yeah. But what if in 10 years, though, you remember that you were on this random podcast with this asshole who told you, don't continue. You could stop now and it'll mitigate risk overnight. You can just stop. You can go get a job as a secretary. You can go get a job as a car salesman. You can go get a job as a I don't know, fucking stand-in teacher somewhere. You can do anything but this, and your life's outcome is going to likely be better, right? Wouldn't it be better if when you think about that objectively, to not kick yourself in the ass in 10 years and go, fuck, I should have listened to that guy, and instead just quit. Do anything other than that.
Well, if that happens, I'll find you and take you out to a nice dinner. Right?
Can I say something?
No, you're going to find me, and here's what's going to happen. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. Right? 10 years, I'll get the phone call, and you're going to say, man, Andrew, you were so right about this, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to go, I told you, dummy. Right? Because that's social shaming. The hope there is that you'll take that laughter and internalize it, and it'll make you seethe with anger so that you'll speak out in 10 years to the next generation and say, this didn't work out so well.
Life, you learn things, right?
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? Maybe it'll go my way, and I'll call you and be like, yo, it worked out, and laugh in your face.
Maybe.
I love your opinion just now. And I think that, you're still 19, you're young. He, I think he brings a really good point, but I want to ask you something. Would you date a broke guy if you could build a life with him? Like, he doesn't have any money right now, but hypothetically, let's say you get pregnant, right? And he's like, I don't have the best job right now, but I'm willing to get another job. But who knows, maybe he's making $2,500, $3,000 a month. Would you be okay with dating him? If he's really trying and he does love you.
Well, yeah, because that shows ambition.
Okay.
But it's like, if you're just a broke man and you have no ambition and you have no plan and you have no, I don't know, again, what I was saying is like a dominant man. If you're not doing anything to improve your life, that doesn't attract me to you. And I would never get pregnant by a dude that.
I don't think she knows what dominant means. Because that's not what dominant means.
Couldn't afford a child.
But do you know what? Things can change. He can get a job. He could say, do you know what? I need to step it up. Yeah, but you're honestly you're just exiting a bunch of guys that, could potentially, you could potentially date. There's nothing wrong with that. Not to get personal, that's
the whole thing's been personal from her so far. It's funny, she's really talking about herself. She's projecting a lot, which is fine, but you can really see a lot. And women do this all the time. They just confess everything about themselves and everything they feel, even when they don't want to or don't realize. Because when this chick starts yelling, that's when we're not going to watch all 45 minutes of this clip, because she gave me a headache earlier today and I'm not about to have that same headache. But it's interesting, the exchange that's about to happen between these two women, because we need women to school other women. And that's what kind of happens.
A situation happened with my boyfriend. He couldn't afford a kid. He got another job, and I'm essentially a lot better off than him financially. I didn't care, but there is guys that, who cares if they're broke? Who cares? Honestly, once you have $200,000 in cash, are you going to care about if a guy is broke? Seriously, does $200,000 in your hand mean anything to you? Would it mean anything to you?
Well, I already said that it's not about
would it make you
them
happy?
Being broke. It's about their ambitions and their.
There is some people that, money would make them happy. I'm the happiest I've ever been in my entire life, having a child and having a family and being a mother. I don't give a fudge about money. And I've seen that much money in cash easily.
Right.
So
I didn't say I cared about money.
How do you support your kid
without money?
Without money?
Yeah.
You can. How would you support your kid with that money?
Yes, you're saying you don't care about money, but how would you support that husband?
I mean, you need money to support a kid, but you guys can be a team. You guys can build a family together.
But I'm not doing that after I'm
that
pregnant.
Sounds like a gold digger comment. That really does.
How is that gold digger to want
what
to
she
find
said.
someone
What she
that
said.
wants to be able to provide for the child?
Well,
I'm not going to get pregnant if we cannot.
No, but you know what?
That makes no.
She's like, I'm not going to get pregnant if. Okay. I think what you mean is that you're not going to have the baby, because if you're just having promiscuous, hanky-panky, you think that they always choose, there are never accidents, there are never unwanted pregnancies. This is ridiculous. That part's ridiculous. I'm going to try not to hyper-focus on that. But what I see here is the one lady, the one louder one, what she's trying to express is, I used to think money mattered way more than it does. Now that I have a child and a man who is who loves me and our child and works hard. He doesn't make a lot of money, but he works hard. Now I see what's actually valuable. And I know that, and she's trying to say, $200,000 in my hand is meaningless compared to this. Don't exchange it. I think that's what she's trying to say. And it's a great point. We're just a little too emotional, I think, to make the point a little more clear. I think this is probably a very fresh, relatively speaking, realization for the lady with the dark hair. Well, they all have dark hair. Anyway, the louder one.
No sense.
You know what? Every situation is different. Every guy is different. But if a guy's willing to come up to you and say, hey, listen, I don't care about your past. I really don't. I want to start a family with you. And I don't have a bunch of money, but I'm willing to step up and get another job. Are you going to reject him because he maybe has $100 in his bank account?
No, because he has that thing where he's not.
And then money doesn't matter.
He has
at the
the
end
ambition
of the day.
to get more money.
I'd rather be broke as shit and not have any money in my bank account, not have anything to my name, and have a loving husband and a child and be a happy family. That's what really matters.
But that's not about being broke or not.
Exactly. You can't provide for yourself if you have no money.
Yeah, but you know what? There's assistance out there. There really is.
But
There's
I'm not going to do that after I'm
stuff
pregnant.
like that.
I think
that makes
it doesn't matter.
The point is, like,
why do they act like you either are going to be involved in some sort of prostitution or corn, or you're going to be destitute? There are other jobs. And you don't need all this luxury. I don't know where they live. Brian's where he is Santa Barbara. You don't have to live in Santa Barbara. You can live in a cheaper place. You can live more cheaply. One of my favorite stories of my parents is when my mom would talk about when they were first married, and they lived in England, and they were, struggling, and they both had jobs. I think my dad was working on something with the, British Merchant Marines, taking some kind of a test because they would study. My mom would help quiz him. That's one of my favorite stories. But the other thing is that she would explain they had a flat in England, and every night they had beans and cornbread because my mom's from the South in America. So she made beans and cornbread every night except for Friday, when they would splurge and get fish and chips. And it was so special to get the fish and chips. And she never complained like, oh, it was horrible, we had to eat beans and cornbread. No, she didn't complain. In fact, the way she told those stories back when my parents didn't have very much, it was that she never ever complained once about the predicament. And I love that she did that, because it instilled values in me of what's important. And I knew that they were very happy then. To be thankful for the fish and chips on Friday, and how special that was. My mouth is actually watering. I don't even eat fish, but I can just picture it. I can smell the sea, and I can taste the chips with the vinegar. Might have to have that later. But it was special, and it was not anything to complain about. And you know what? All of these chicks on here, they're missing out. They're missing out. It's a beautiful thing to sit there and eat your beans and cornbread with the love of your life, and talk about building your family, and just being together and counting on each other and being a team. The struggle together even is just beautiful. And you don't get that when you're hooked on the luxury, and you have this sense of entitlement. When you choose money and luxury over doing what's right, a lot of times people can say, well, that's like selling your soul. You don't get to, have it back later. you're getting rid of things in yourself that you can't get back. It's really a tragedy happening before our eyes. I want the women to call out the other women.
There's so many options.
Like,
before
I can't even
resorting to
believe
that
some
industry.
people's like perspective.
I think the point is like there's so many options you could do before resorting to that, to working in that industry that would not have you go through all of those consequences.
And you're still young.
And you
know?
said that, okay, there's
you could do a lot.
consequences
Seriously.
and you learn.
Absolutely.
And I love that you're humble enough to understand what we're saying to you. But for that same reason, I would actually shame you more for understanding it and not doing anything about it than if you were
it's her
to
choice.
just.
Yeah.
But it's not just about, like, I understand that's your choice, but I'm going to shame people for their choices because I care about society. And I think the worst part of this is the kids. Like, if you acknowledge that there's consequences with kids, I think you're irresponsible if you know that there's going to be some type of consequence or something put on those kids. And I remember you said, well, I have friends that have strippers as like moms or all of that. And
yeah, you don't want that. You don't want to raise your kid like that.
I could argue, if we really go in depth, that there is consequences, but let's say there isn't. It sounds very mediocre, and I don't want to, like, I just really dislike people who want kids and they're like, well, it's fine, instead of having the intention of, I want to do my absolute best, not mediocre, not, well, they'll turn out fine, they'll have food and roof over their head, they'll have money from what I'm working as, not with the intention of, I want the absolute best thing for them, not just, you could
go to college, you could do a lot of things.
I do want the best for my future,
you're still
non-existent
19
children.
What she's doing is her decision at the end of the day.
But she could have better. You shouldn't.
Yes, it's her decision, and you know what? She's making the wrong one. Okay.
Sit here, your fake friend. If you literally sit here and say that it's okay for what she's doing long term, she's going to probably have kids one day.
Of course.
You're still young too, so you might not get it. I'm a lot older than
I work at a pharmacy, so I know what I want to do in life.
I get it, but you shouldn't sit here and condemn what she's doing. It's wrong, and I will say it right now. It's completely
That's your opinion,
wrong.
of course.
Okay, well, guess what?
You have an OnlyFans.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
You have an
OnlyFans. It's kind of
it doesn't matter.
Okay, but you're not going to shame me for what I do when you have an OnlyFans.
Right,
but it's not mainstream
and
porn.
you have a child. So what about you?
I'm not doing
that to
porn.
yourself.
I'm not doing porn.
Seriously, at least take
your naked body's still somewhere on the internet, girl. Like,
I'm sure, but it doesn't.
Here?
What I'm trying to tell you is, you shouldn't.
It's giving.
I have a theory. We're almost going to end because of the yelling, but this part is still important. I have a theory that this loud one that's sort of in the corner is yelling at her younger self.
Go, if you're gonna have a relationship, you shouldn't go and fuck guys and then come home and fuck your boyfriend. You're disgusting for that if you ever do that.
I don't have a boyfriend.
Again, you're literally, and that's why you won't get a boyfriend, because nobody wants to be with somebody that's going to have sex with multiple guys. You probably are going to end up with some type of STI one day. And also, you're laughing. You're next.
It's in her defense.
No, literally, you guys are just immature. And honestly, this is wrong with society.
You have an OnlyFans.
Like you guys,
you
it
have an
doesn't fucking
OnlyFans.
matter. I don't have an OnlyFans. Bitches, I can literally shut down my fucking OnlyFans and never have to fucking work again for the rest of my fucking life. So shut the fuck up.
Are you gonna touch me?
I'm not going to touch you.
Then
But seriously, you need to stop. Don't encourage this.
Please don't put your hand in my face.
Yeah, I mean, we could be calm about it.
I can delete OnlyFans and never work again in my life because I'm fucking rich. That's why.
Go home.
I'm calm.
No, bitch, you go the fuck home.
I'm calm, girl. I was just saying that it just sounded hypocritical.
It doesn't matter. Find better for yourself. You're young. You have potential. Seriously, I actually had a positive thing for you. You are young. You are 19. You have a whole life ahead of you. Go do something better. Seriously, you have the capability.
I think
absolutely.
You literally have the
I was going to
capability to do something better.
I am so glad she's yelling at this girl. Like, we need this. We need her to, we need these women to say, do better. You can do better. And she's a little too triggered. Like, I'm rich. I'm this, I'm that. It doesn't matter. Don't say that. That's not making it better. Say, I wish I'd done that. You're right. I should shut it down. After listening to you, yes, maybe she should say that. I should shut it down. Instead, she gets defensive. And that's not productive. However, definitely need to call out the women when they are making bad choices. And this whole, well, that's her choice. That's not an argument. Why are you even saying that? Duh. It is her choice. And it's also wrong. See, now I'm fired up too.
Rest of my life. That was never something I said. Let's say I find a different interest. And I feel
I'm not shaming you. I actually would like to see you do better. And then she's sitting here saying, it's her choice. You're wrong or whatever.
You're judging her right now.
No, I'm literally saying it doesn't fucking matter. I can shut down my OnlyFans. I have a daughter to take care of. I don't give a fuck. I can shut down my OnlyFans, but guess what? I'm not going to. I'm not going to because it's my choice. And
then there you go. You're a hypocrite. Then there you go.
I'm not a hypocrite. I'm not sitting here and doing fucking porn.
You're a hypocrite. Girl, at the end of the day.
I actually, do you know what? I take back my good advice. I hope you literally end up homeless in the street because you won't take good advice.
Here's another thing. I will also judge a person for not being calm because the point is to
you guys are like young. You guys don't get it until you have children. You will understand.
Well, all I was saying is that it was just coming from a place of someone that has an OnlyFans. So
it doesn't fucking matter. I made it in life. I own a fucking mansion. I can do whatever the fuck I want. And I fucking manage my properties and collect rent.
Okay. She, I don't know why she chose to lose it because that really undermined her argument. And we don't need to listen to the rest of that screaming because no, I can't take it. Yeah, should have nicknamed her Jersey Girl or something. She gave me that vibe. But, so we need the women to call out the other women. And I think that was a good example. I think the chick with the long hair was doing a bit of a better job with it. But either way, I'm encouraged. Hopefully we'll have more of that because Andrew can go on the show and do the things and say the things. But you guys know at the end of the day, they don't listen to guys. And I think enough chicks are watching this kind of content that I am hopeful that they will see the light and realize what you're doing right now affects what happens later. And it doesn't matter what you think you're going to manifest or what you hope for or whatever Disney told you. It's not going to matter. So thank you guys. If you've made it this far, wow, you're as crazy as I am. It's so good to get y'all's opinion. And I really want to know what you think about these exchanges. I really do. I want to know what you guys think because I obviously see it from a woman's point of view and I see their argument going back and forth. And maybe you don't see it like they're one woman is or two of the women are calling out the other women. And I don't know what you guys think. I want to reach more women myself. I feel like I can explain it in a gentle way, but also in a firm way. That we need to change the direction of things and that women actually have the so-called power to do it because we affect culture a lot more than people realize. That's why politicians and everything is geared towards us, advertising, marketing, because the buying decisions, the voting decision, culture just kind of follows us. That's why they want to lead us in a certain way. We can change that. That would be better. And I realize it's probably a pipe dream, but I would rather hope for that little tiny % chance that it'll turn around, because even if it doesn't, then you can still help that one person. You know, that one man can come across one of these episodes from Far From Eden and go, oh wow, I'm not the only one. I'm not a complete loser and reject because women don't look at me and don't want to date me. It's a problem with the women and what they value and what they overlook. It's not a problem with you, probably. So that's why I will scream into the wind, because it might help 1 or 2 or 3 people. And I think it's better to do the right thing, even if you don't know what kind of good results will happen in this life, than to do nothing, because it's hopeless. Anyway, on that note, happy Sunday again, you guys. Don't forget to feed your souls. And if you don't believe you have one, feed it anyway and see what happens. And for heaven's sakes, protect your peace. Protect your peace. Connect with nature in any way you can. It's really helpful, very helpful. This morning, I took my walk with little Lola. By the way, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I am sure that YouTube is not going to be a big fan of this one, but it needed to be shown. So I don't do this for YouTube. I do this for you guys. But anyway, I took Lola on the walk around our building, and I was thinking about you guys when I did it, and I was like, you know, I feel good today. I've had a bit of a rough week and a half health-wise, and I don't know why all of a sudden I feel better today. It just goes like that. But I do. I feel so much better. And I was on my walk, and I was noticing some of the flowers, and, you know, and it sounds cheesy, but I was listening to the birds, and I was noticing the flowers, and most people were asleep. And I liked that because it was very peaceful. Anyway, I was thinking of you guys, and I was thinking about how it was feeding my soul to take that walk with little Lola. Because, you know, we don't. How many more walks do you have? She's 15. I'm going to enjoy every moment. So thank you. I have enjoyed this time with you guys, and I love you. And I'll see you on the next one. It'll be a fairy tale. Bye.